How you doing there? BuyerBrown, right?
Hey, what's going on, man?
And let me go ahead and adjust your audio coming in. Well, thanks for coming on. And, I like, sometimes these impromptu call-ins are fun too.
Oh, definitely. Especially when you're just sitting around. I saw you went live off of the Facebook page.
Oh, is that how you, found out I was broadcasting or?
Oh yeah, definitely. You're in my Facebook feed, and I stop by every once in a while and check you out. Got some good stuff.
I appreciate it. Try to get, different things going like I said, occasionally I had a few people on here, and it was really fun because, because some people oppress me. You just think they're just viewers, but they have a lot going on. Whether well, he didn't really broadcast or anything like that. YouTube. He was more of a what he did was he would sell businesses VoIP solutions instead of using telephone service because they had so many telephones and everything. But
okay.
And now I'm kind of checking out your website, which is kind of interesting the way you got it set up. And is it some kind of it's like a network of shows or?
Well, sort of. My big niche has always been I promote a lot of other shows and help a lot of different podcasters with voiceovers or commercials. A lot of my podcasts have the commercials are actually based on other podcasters rather than, your run of the mill, go to meeting or go to Squarespace and all this other nonsense. My whole little niche is usually promoting other podcasters, actually.
Oh, okay. I see. And, how is now, I'm guessing, what do you call it? Voiceover? Is that the correct word?
Yeah. Like on a radio show or, what's that guy that he just got famous?
Oh,
The
yeah. I
Kraft
know.
macaroni and cheese guy.
Yeah, I know he talking about it. It was actually, he was like homeless, right?
Exactly. Well, his profession before he got unfortunately hooked on drugs and alcohol and whatnot. Before that, he was into the voiceover profession, or he was practicing, studying that field. He got all messed up on drugs, alcohol, whatnot, and dropped off. So now he's getting his second chance in life. Although, from what I hear, he's having a hard time at it. Got a great deal with Kraft macaroni and cheese, though.
Yeah, I think I've heard something about that. I thought it was. I think I seen him on like the Today Show or one of those, and I think maybe it was the Kraft macaroni and cheese.
When he was doing a commercial, when he first went into the studio.
Yeah. Now I haven't actually seen it, the voiceover for that, but.
Yeah, if you all the commercials from Kraft macaroni and cheese starting about a week ago, the announcer's voice is that guy.
Yeah, I haven't seen any like recent ones. It seems like the most I've seen probably are they have the kids' voices in them or something like that, or
Right.
None of the voiceover ones as much, but I don't know, Now, for TV and movies, it can be. There's some people that make a lot of money.
Oh yeah, like Don DeFonte. Well, he passed away, which they know him as the voice, mostly the movies. He revolutionized that whole industry of doing voiceovers, and he was absolutely awesome. So.
Yeah, there's a few people you always hear them in the the movies or TV or whatever, but you don't exactly know their name.
Right.
I mean, obviously, because they don't say this is in their actual name, but.
So how long you been into tech and whatnot?
Well, I've been doing it for a while. I mean, I'm trying to think. Probably, I started in 1993, but I was still learning for a couple of years. But the broadcasting's probably been two to 2.5 years, I think. But
Nice. And I see that you have a variation of Tux there. So are you? I'm assuming you're deep into Linux.
Yeah, probably. Well, it's going on 16 years, but probably the last year and a half, I really got into Macs. It's more so the hardware than the software. I do like the software as well because it's Unix based.
Right.
But it seems lately I had to change direction of show for like broadcasting because now I got to think generally instead of specifically. Just into Linux things. I have to cover. Well, I didn't want to get stuck on one type of tech thing. I wanted to branch out, and because if you stick in one little niche,
Well, no, that's actually the smartest thing to do. Actually, I think one of the biggest drawbacks on Linux, as far as their community, is the willingness to bash, the other technologies. Realistically, it's not about bashing this technology or that technology. It's all about finding the best solution for your problem. So if somebody's going to talk to me, and I would imagine talk to you as well, I really don't care what operating system or what software it is. It's all about solving that problem, finding the proper solution.
I think so too, because I see a lot of hard set Linux users, and they're like, they don't they don't like the proprietary, they don't like paid software and all that, but I think I found out over the years, I have never been that way 100%. Up to a certain point I was a little bit, but I come to realize without being paid software or something like that, that we wouldn't have come as far as we would have if it was all open source 100%. But
well, right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making some money. If you sit down there and you're making software, why not be compensated for it? If you want to make a labor of love and make free software out there, then that's great. And the whole open source community idea is a wonderful thing. The open source community is a really cool concept and has developed some awesome tools out there like Blender,
oh yeah, Blender.
But at the same time, I mean, am I gonna be mad at Adobe because they want to make some money? No.
Yeah.
Am I gonna be mad at Microsoft because they want to make some money? Look, I'll tell you like this: I gotta eat. Okay.
I think everybody does.
I don't mind doing some work for free. I do pro bono work all the time, to tell you the truth. But quite honestly, at some point, I got to get paid. I'm sorry, I got to eat, and I like to eat well.
Well, I think another thing is, if you can get paid for it for something you like to do, then
Exactly. So it's one of those kind of. I'll tell you one thing that really irks me the most, though, when it comes to like free software and whatnot. I'll hear a lot of different techs and different users. They'll grab the free software, but they will not hit that donate button, and that upsets me. If you're out there using free software, at least, buy the man a bear at least.
Yeah, like $5-10 or something.
Something. And it's sometimes I hear different advice. Make sure that you save this particular file so that in case the program goes pay, that you have this file to go free. And I'm like, well, that's okay, but have you at least thrown in a one-time $10? Can you throw in $5 once in a while? Because these individuals out there are out there making this software, making what you do possible, and giving it to you for free. I mean, dear God, man, seriously, go in your pocket, find an open source community, punch the donate button, and donate some money to these people. It's ridiculous.
Well, there was one software that I used to use, all the time, every week, and which was the Cam Twist, which is another, kind of like a broadcasting software. And so I did. Eventually, I was like, I use it so much, and then I think I asked him some questions on some technical problems, and he answered them. So I sent him like $100 because I used it so much that and plus you can use that money and develop it even more.
Exactly. See, and that's the thing is when you donate to these open source communities, you're only helping yourself, because that is going to spur them on to do better, to make, that tool even that much better. If they see the interest that people have, as well as, donating their time, as well as if you're a coder, then helping with the code. All I'm really saying is that if there is something out there that you like, even if it is free, like Free Bear, even if it's like that, take some time, drop some money in the pot,
Now, what do you think about, there's a little blurb that I read because I read all the news feeds. I mean, that gives me some ideas what to, talk about. And I think in there that was, I think it was Google was not going to go with H.264 for their compression because I guess they got to pay royalties. It's not open source. And
it's not open source. Google, Google and Microsoft, to me, they have some similarities in the sense that they're kind of all over the map in a lot of ways. One thing that I do respect about Steve Jobs and his, his monarchy, whenever he makes a decision, that's the decision. You're going to go with it, and he runs with it. Google's kind of all over the map as well. One day they're for it, one day they're not. One day let's not be evil. Next day they're talking about net neutrality and trying to charge you on tiers. Now, at one point they were supporting the H.2, and now they're going to say, oh, well, we're not going to support it now. So what are you doing? Are you trying to be less evil now? Are you trying to get back some of your open source cred? Because a lot of people have seen how you have shunned the open source community in a lot of ways. I don't know. Google's all over the map.
Well, mine was more not the fact that they didn't want to use H.264, but it kind of made me think a little bit, perhaps, because this had to do with the web in particular. I mean, would it be better to have most of the web open source as far as the standards or whatever? I mean...
Well, yeah, definitely. I think that it boils down to choice, The HTML5 standard should support all of it, really. And if you want to use the one that's going to cost fees, then, you pay that fee and use it. But if you want to use OGG and the other formats, then you can use that as well.
Now, what I didn't like, I could understand, okay, they decided they're not going to use this H.264. They're going to do, I think it's called WebM or whatever. And
yeah, they do have their own standard, yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's their standard or I think it's, it's pretty much a universal. It's not particularly one person from what I understand. I haven't really researched it. But, they're saying they don't want to use H.264, but how come they're still supporting, Adobe Flash? They're still...
Again, yeah, it's it's odd with Google. I mean, you never quite know where they're going to go. One thing for sure, they always provide great content to talk about.
Yeah.
Whether they are out there, taking pictures on the roads and on satellite
that's a big one.
Or they're into, I saw a report one time they were getting into the wind farm kind of thing, all the way down to whatever's happening with HTML. And it's a wonder all this coming from that company. And I think way back in the day, wasn't it Insight or Insight? They had the chance to buy them and they didn't.
I'm not sure. Now, I'm guessing originally Google was the search engine, and I could see where, as a company, unless you're willing to go into new markets, if you try to stay in the same thing forever, it's not going to work because, that particular technology may die down and then, what are you going to do? So I'm not against a company trying to get into other markets because, look at AOL, they used to be just dial-up. Now you barely hear, I think they have a website or something, but,
Well, I guess as long as you're getting into other markets and, doing your research well, because, look at eBay when they try to get into different markets. I think they owned Skype at one time, right? And
oh, did they? I didn't know, huh?
Yeah, one time eBay owned Skype, and they tried to get into other things. It didn't work out so hot for them. But then again, Google's a whole nother animal. A whole nother
Yeah.
animal. They got some really smart people at Google. It's interesting watching Google go to work, and it's good that Google exists because we needed something like that to stir up the pot. At the one there was a time when Microsoft was all the craze.
Yeah.
It was all about Microsoft. Then here comes Google, and Google really stirred the pot. It made people dream again. It made people wonder, well, what if you do think outside the box? What if you do go against the grain? And you remember when Microsoft, when it was the up and coming company, and IBM was the big thing, and that was the evil empire to beat. So we all need our Darth Vaders and Luke Skywalkers and and Obi-Wans and everything like that. So I do enjoy the fact that Google exists. I love watching all this stuff kind of take place. What I do wonder about, what I do worry about sometimes is what is the new companies that are going to be coming and when will they be coming?
Yeah.
I don't want it to get to
Just
the point.
just Google or
Exactly. That worries me a little bit because when I can't remember what that technology was, but I think Zuckerberg and them bought what was it called?
Oh yeah, I'm not too sure about the Facebook, I guess, but
They bought something and they buried the technology. I don't like that. If you're going to buy something that people like and then just bury it for no reason, I mean, I think that's just cruel. I'm worried about, is this going to become a world where you just have Facebook and you have Google and, all of them calling the shots? Like now, I don't sign in with Facebook everywhere I go. I believe in separate accounts. I don't believe in giving them that much control or that much kudos in what I do. Now, of course, I'm only one person. Am I really making a dent? Probably not. But, if enough people get that mindset to help, kind of keep the reins on these different companies, because we got the power. The people have the power if they choose to use it.
Yeah, I kind of look at it the same way that, while it's great that a company, does really well, but you're kind of worried if they take up too much of everything that it's just going to be, I'm not saying monopoly per se, but, I realize some of Google's practices aren't the best, supposedly taking your information like, Facebook kind of does, but
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, whenever there's these debates about our personal information, I don't know. To me, it's the public knew. You know what they do. Do you really think that all of this was for free? Did you really think that you were going to have this cool thing to throw your stuff up on there and do everything, and there wasn't some kind of, background agenda going on? And then it kind of, then everybody acts surprised. Oh, what are you doing with it? What do you mean you're doing this with it? And it's like,
well,
of course they're doing that because they want to make money.
Well, you got to think too, it's a public, it's a public, where everybody goes, and so a lot of times people put things down that, they really shouldn't. They may put their, secure information. I'm not saying just, when signing into Facebook, but, they'll put it actually where everybody can see it. And,
Oh, yeah.
all they got to do is, if they see them on another part of the web, all they got to do is put their username in there, and they often can pull up information from Facebook, MySpace, and who knows where else.
Oh, for sure. There are a lot of people who are, they're not aware of what you can or what you should and should not do on these. They're too trusting. It's just like when a young man runs around and lays around with any girl that will let him lay down with him. And if you're not protected, you're going to get burned.
Yeah.
And that's what happens on the internet. You got to be careful about your personal information. A lot of these young people, they think it's all fun and games putting their personal information, and unfortunately, Some of them have gotten, hurt, just, from people hunting around to take victims and whatnot.
And actually, I can tell you one right away. And I just happened to be right here on Justin TV. I happen to be, occasionally I check out the other shows in the social channel, and I'll go in, and there was a bunch of these girls, and they were kind of, making a big show, shenanigans or whatever, and somebody put in their, their phone number and their address, and she shut down her show pretty quickly, and probably all they had to do is probably Google it and found it somewhere on the web, and then they don't think about that.
Oh, for sure. Well, a good example of things that can go horribly wrong is whenever you're looking at a community like 4chan, that hive mentality. And let's face it, people that are on 4chan are not all, let's say, proper, if you will. And there's some crazy things that happen over there. But there are girls that will go over to a place like 4chan, post their information, or these people will go out and they will find their personal information, hack into their Facebook accounts, post all kind of just nonsense on there, send all kind of pictures to other people in their address book, and it just becomes a really bad situation. People have got to learn that you can't do this on the internet. The whole world is looking at it.
Well, I think it's just the younger mindset. Well, of course, they don't have experience, and they think they're indestructible, but...
Exactly, yeah. I remember when I used to feel indestructible.
Yeah. Hey, how about let me see, Scarecrow, how about you? Did you think you were indestructible when you were younger? He's another broadcaster. He's a smidgen older than I am, so...
Oh, how old are you? About 22?
No, a little bit. 24. Right. I'm 24. No, really. Actually, no. I got a birthday coming up soon. I'll be 40 years old.
Exactly. Yes. Hey, well, like they say, it's better than the alternative, right? Keep on getting older and keep on living life.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of people that woke up dead this morning.
Oh yeah, come to think of it, there probably is.
So yeah, I don't mind getting older, and but now when you started doing your broadcasting and whatnot, what was the passion that drove you?
You know what? It kind of started out differently. I think I've been on, internet forums. You leave a message and, people respond. It takes, longer. And I've been doing that for quite a while on different subjects. And it was a lot of fun because you can debate on different things. And then I went on Blog to TV, which is more of a live format, similar to Justin TV. And I kind of like that, and so, but then I ended up going to Justin. Then at one point, I was serious enough to, take it seriously. So, and it's a lot of fun because you can meet different people and get their own point of view and different subjects. I think at first I kind of started doing tech, which I still do, but I kind of branch out into other things as well.
Yeah. It's wonderful hearing different people's ideas and point of views on so many different subjects. And if you, because how some people are just closed-minded, they believe that the way that they think is right, and that's that. If you lend yourself to, listening to some other points of view and how your imagination can run, you start thinking of just brand new ideas, brand new concepts, or looking at situations differently. That's what I enjoy about listening to all these different podcasts. They spark off a lot of ideas with me.
It's not just that, but after hearing their point of view, there's a few people that actually changed my my original the way I thought of things, And, I'm like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And then I started really thinking about it and doing a little bit of research or whatever. And then, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Or,
Yeah, just unbelievable the things that you can learn right off the internet. I mean, quite honestly, there is enough information, enough data here. If you know how to sift through it, to earn your degree in whatever field you want to go into. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to technology or web-based technologies, you can learn everything you need to right here on the internet. And there's so many different technicians out there, super brain people out there that are so kind to share their knowledge. It's unbelievable. I absolutely love the whole concept of the internet. Opened up a whole nother world to me.
Yeah, I have to say that it's almost like instant, instant information. But I think you have to realize as well, you have to be careful on where you get this information, because sometimes it's not always correct. So you might want to pull up more than one source, unless you know it's a trusted source that you used before that, that is reliable. So
again, yeah, and again, what that goes back to is, learning the rules of the ins and outs of being online. Knowing that you got to realize that every link is not a good link. There's something that it might say, hey, we got the latest, greatest of everything. You click that, and next thing you know, you're infected, or they're stealing important data from you, or they're just lying to you. Because there are sites out there that just downright lie. But I'm glad that the majority of places that you can go around and you can cross-reference.
Yeah.
You can cross-reference, make sure that what's being told to you is proper. But I like the whole idea that this internet and all the information on there is like just a huge library of just knowledge out there. There's nothing that you can't find on this thing for the most part, or for whatever it is that you want to learn about.
Well, another thing that I like about the internet, it's like, let's say, you have some company or something, and you're like, well, I need to find out this about them, and let me check to see if they have a website, and you go up on there, and then you can pull out whatever you need. A lot of companies have a website now, so
yeah.
And in fact, when I was in the military, I used to work with contractors, and one of them asked me for some kind of form, and we were looking around, we couldn't find it in the office, and went on the internet, and it took me about 20 minutes, but I found the form in PDF format, downloaded it, and gave it to the contractor, and I was like, oh, kind of wiped my brow on that one.
Yeah, definitely. And you said that you served what branch?
It was the Navy.
Navy. All right. Well, first off, thank you for your service. For sure.
Oh, okay, thanks. Actually, I really feel bad for the Navy's not too bad, but you get into the Army, Air Force, and the Marines. They're the ones that actually. Well, now the Navy's starting to send people to. They call it augmentation, which they're not actually on the front lines, but they have to support them in the actual dangerous areas. So.
Right. Well, but still, at the same time, the armed forces are the armed forces. No matter what branch you're in, as far as this family is concerned, military service is top notch. Most people in my family are Marines. I myself never had the opportunity to serve for different reasons, but the fact that you did serve, I honestly, I believe everybody should have to go through the service, to tell you the truth. I think every child should grow up and go through the service at least once. Seriously, to really just to fall in love with your country, to know that the place that you live in has to be protected.
Now, there's a few countries I think they have mandatory. You have to be in the military. I think Israel's one. I think there's a mandatory 2-year.
I do believe that is. I do believe it is a 2 years in Israel, if I'm not mistaken.
There might be other countries. I don't know. I do. If people, I do recommend it. If even if it's just for 4 years and you get out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think it just should be a part of the part of the process of growing up. I think that you should get to, you get to 17 or 18 or whatever, and you go through the military. You put your 4 years in, and then, you can leave the military and go into the private sector if you want. But I do believe that every man, woman, and child should have to go through the service. I honestly think that would make our country that much better.
Well, I kind of I'm not, for myself, I'm not going to say, make it a requirement, but I do encourage people, like, especially when they're young, they don't have direction or,
Yeah. Well, it's that discipline.
Well, yeah, I'm not, yeah, talking about just that.
That you can get in the military. I don't know. I just think that I just see it as being a more enriching experience than anything. Even a chance to go and experience the rest of the world and then come back to the private sector. I just believe it gives you something more than if you were to just say, just be let loose into the world and say, okay, here you go.
There's something that Smart Scarecrow put in the chat room, and well, I don't know if he's talking mostly politicians, but I know, of course, during the Vietnam War, they were treated really badly. So, of course, a lot of that's turned around, and it's great that, even though they may not agree, the military doing certain things, at least they support the individual soldier or, person on the most part.
I don't know. I'll tell you honestly, Smart Scarecrow, I feel where you're coming from. I seriously feel where you're coming from. When I look out and I see different veterans that have not been treated properly, or for some reason they're having a hard time getting their benefits and things of that nature, that upsets me. These are the people who protect our way of life. And I just think that the people who are in the military should be treated with more respect. There needs to be more respect for our military forces. And I know where you're coming from on that. It's sometimes I think the thing that scares me the most about the military, if I was going to flip the coin, what I worry about is a group of politicians that they get into their little tiff, okay, and then they decide to send you off to war for any old reason. That's what worries me the most.
Well, I didn't know if Scarecrow was just specifically talking about the politicians, vice, the public in general. But I was mostly, not talking about the politicians per se. But yeah, I do agree that some of the politicians need to, actually, some, I don't know, some of their, I got to really do some more research on it, and I haven't kept up with it recently on some of that, but I don't know, maybe if he specified more on how, on which, specifically on what thing, perhaps they're not, the way they're treated, but, maybe it has to do with some of their, let's say they go out into Iraq and they get some kind of condition. Well, I think before, it was during the Gulf War. What was that? Gulf War syndrome. There we go. And they were, they could, I don't know if they supposedly could prove exactly there was something wrong with it. I think there is, but personally,
well, you often wonder the different experiments that go on. Now, I'm not big into like conspiracy theories and whatnot, but you can't ignore the simple fact that there are some things that happen that go on that, let's just say, would be less desirable. Different things. I mean, even look at what was the case recently, the swine flu and all that.
Yeah.
And they were running around telling people, you got to get this shot. You got to get this shot. And it's like, seriously, nobody I know got the shot. I wasn't going to, put my family in danger like that. And where is the swine flu? I mean, by this point, we're supposed to all be dropping dead, and this is supposed to be the rise of the zombies by now, you know? and,
Yeah.
and it's nowhere.
Well,
At one point, the president and everybody was talking about everybody get this shot. Now you don't even hear about it. Matter of fact, there's a lot of countries who have a surplus of vaccine that has gone bad because nobody wanted to take the garbage.
well, we'll see what people don't realize is like, well, I'm talking about. I know in the United States, I think there's 20,000 people die every year from the flu, and it's not even the swine flu.
Well, a lot of times, another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of deaths that happen from liver toxicities due to taking over-the-counter drugs such as aspirin, not aspirin, but Tylenol.
Yeah, that's right. If you take too much of it a long period of time, yeah.
Exactly. You take too much Tylenol, and you can die. Your liver will go into a toxic shock, and you will die. It happens to young children a lot, because what'll happen is you know, the child comes home, somebody gives them a dose of NyQuil. Maybe another parent comes home a little bit later, doesn't realize the child has already been doses them again, and sends their liver into toxic shock, and they unfortunately pass away. A lot of deaths happen just from over-the-counter drugs that have nothing to do with the swine flu. And for crying out loud, the last time they did, you know, the history of the swine flu on the last shot that they did and the neurological damage that happened from those shots.
Oh yeah, there's like I think it's like 2%. I can't remember if it's 2%. I think you know that had to do with that swine flu shot, and I think it had 500 people that had some kind of nervous disorder.
Oh yeah, started shaking like crazy. I can't remember the one lady's name.
Yeah, I know who you're
she
talking
had the braces on her legs and everything, and unbelievable. So when you look at pharma and what they want to stick into you, and at one day they tell you this is great, about a year later you see on your TV, if you happen to be taking such and such, there's now a current lawsuit going on. You know, this might cause heart failure. And it's like, wait a minute. You just said a year ago that this was safe and everything was great. But now you have a lawsuit because people are dying from heart attacks. What was the shot for the young women?
cervical cancer, right?
Cervical cancer.
Yeah.
Now, that particular company, who's now based in China, I believe, they were responsible for that big heart failure fiasco that a bunch of people died.
Was it because of that cervical cancer shot, or?
It wasn't because of it was some other drug before that. But it's the fact that company made that drug, moved over to China simply because of their laws in China basically protects them. And then now they want to serve our children these shots. And it's like, seriously, how many more times do they have to kill somebody before we wake up and say, maybe we can't trust them, And it just I don't know. It's just crazy anymore.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that it was like, they were it's kind of strange. I don't know. Lately, I haven't heard about it. Maybe it kind of died down, but for a while they're advertising it. Get these shots for the young women that get cervical cancer. I don't know. I don't know what the statistics on cervical cancer is or whatever, but
it has something to be linked with that whole human papilloma virus or something.
Oh yeah, the virus, papilloma, yeah.
But
I was going to mention that.
I worry about the simple fact that I'm tired of being lied to over and over again. I can't trust you, FDA. I can't trust you, government agency. I mean, you tell me that this is good for me, and then next thing you know, it's not. There was a time that they told you Crisco was a good thing. Now, it's a bad thing. Trans fats. The GMO, the whole genetic modified foods and things that are happening. Farmers out there they want you to stop farming because they say that they have intellectual rights over the seeds. And it's like, wait a minute, I didn't ask you to make some frankenseed. I didn't ask that seed to pollinate and cross over to my field and contaminate. I didn't ask for that. And now you're going to come and say I'm robbing you because I'm planting seeds? And nobody thinks, I mean, don't we see that there's something wrong with that? Just a little bit? That's what I wonder about these things often is when are we as, a country or as a people going to say, look, some things are just not right and they need to change now.
Yeah, I do agree with some of the drugs they've been trying to push, papillona or that one for cervical cancer and some of the other ones. Even when I was in the military, we had to take a series of shots. I think it was for anthrax, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a series. And we actually get in trouble if we didn't take it. So I don't know. Hopefully in 20 years I'll still be okay.
Well, we hope. You remember the nurses in New York that they were gonna fire them if they didn't take the swine flu shot. You remember that?
No, I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, in New York City there was the big thing. They were going to force the medical personnel to take the shot or basically lose their job. And they went to court and said, look, we don't want to take this shot. It's not tested, and for you had to take it or you would have gotten in trouble, and you're in the military. So you tend to wonder, okay, what are they shooting into you? How often has it been tested, and will you see side effects years down the line? Will your arm fall off? And how come mutations are never a good thing? Nobody ever turns
Mutants.
into Wolverine or anything. It's always like your skin falls or you melt and tear to pieces. It's never a good thing when you mutate.
I guess some mutations are good. I guess I don't know, but.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still waiting for the X-Men to be created. Every mutation I've ever seen is like a two-headed frog or somebody who got born with, 3 legs or something. But I never see Wolverine yet,
Well, actually, the X-Men, if you kind of kept up with that, they even have a government thing to inoculate them or something like that. Well, I know in the movies
and their power.
Yeah, they're trying to control them, or I don't know if you kept up with the X-Men comic books or the movies or anything, but.
Well, I was watching the movies, but I tell you quite honestly, the X-Men movies kind of rubbed me the wrong way, especially how they tied it up at the end there. Basically, everybody's dying. Jean Grey comes back as the Phoenix. I don't know. It's like they wiped everybody off the map. They killed Xavier.
Yeah, they killed him off. Well,
he's going to come back because he has that whole
X-Men thing going.
Yeah.
Well, he's the one who founded the X-Men.
Exactly. But the movies, Hollywood, they treated the X-Men horribly. At first, it was on point. At first, everything was going the way that it should. Then for all of a sudden, it's like, I don't know, some lawyers must have came in and said, look, the executives want to make a quick buck, and we're going to sacrifice X-Men on the altar of fast money, and we're just going to puke out this movie. And that's what they did. There was no planning in that movie. And
the last one, right?
The Wolverine movie, did you see that?
Yeah, I seen that one.
The part that he was in the bathroom, he first saw his claws, come out of his skin. The 3D graphics on those claws were horrible. The 3D graphics on the claws from the X-Men movies was like 1,000 times better. So how you have a newer movie with horrible 3D claws? That's unbelievable.
Well,
they would even treat Wolverine that way.
Well, I think originally, supposedly they were bone. Well, because if you know a little bit about X-Men, I haven't seen the original comic book. I don't know the big difference between the comic book and the movie, but the movie, or as far as the X-Men's, what do you call it? The claws are actually, I think, bone, and then somehow they were they implanted him with antimonium, the metal I guess he has now. But they did change the last movie a lot because Jean Grey, because I do know a little bit about Jean Grey, and when she became Phoenix, she didn't go all wild and kill everybody, in the comic book. And I believe Xavier, he was still alive. And yeah, they went a little crazy in the last movie. I don't know why. They just ran out of ideas and were like, let's just make some money, more action, the better it is, I guess.
And the horrible thing about what you just said about them running out of ideas, it's like, wait a minute, you have years and years worth of comics to draw content from, and to just say, let's just do a free for all and kill off everybody is what do you mean?
Cage match. There we go. Let's put a cage and they all go in there and.
Exactly. And I don't know. Now, what I do like, thank goodness, the Incredible Hulk was saved, because the first Incredible Hulk that they made was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
It was so off base, but they saved the Hulk. Okay. Iron Man was a pleasant surprise, although the last movie, if anybody else other than Robert Downey played Iron Man, that movie would have absolutely stunk. The part 2 of that movie, he carried it through. His comic and just his demeanor and who he is really carried part 2 through. Part 1 was absolutely awesome, though. Yeah,
part 1, or the first one was awesome. And now, what do you think about the first X-Men movie?
I was okay with the first X-Men movie. I was excited about the X-Men movie. So almost the first one, unless they had absolutely just completely trashed it, I would have almost been okay with almost anything with that one, because I was just so happy that the X-Men were coming into the flesh and blood,
Yeah.
So I mean, it was, the first X-Men movie was decent, but the last X-Men movie going forward, it was horrible.
Yeah.
And then you have, for crying out loud, how in the world are you going to kill off Cyclops, and Storm is now taking over the school? But that was all because Halle Berry was complaining about not having enough parts. And you're going to bend to Halle Berry's will? I mean, for what? On what premise? I mean, granted, Halle Berry is a beautiful woman, and her acting is questionable, but her last superhero was Catwoman, and we all know how that movie went. Catwoman ranks right up there with Daredevil. The best thing about Daredevil was Elektra came from it, So I don't know why they would even. They ruined X-Men, really, and I'm really hoping that there's going to be a new X-Men that comes out to, say, revitalize it, much how they revitalized Batman, with the whole Dark Knight thing. Except for his voice, that's got to go. That really has to
actually,
go.
On the X-Men, probably, what I really liked about it was, I'm trying to think, Magneto, and how he tied in with being a Holocaust survivor, I guess.
Yeah,
I thought that was wonderfully done between him and Xavier.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed 100% on that one. Tying him to the Holocaust, that there was genius. Yes, it was. I absolutely loved Mystique and Nightcrawler. They were perfectly done. They were perfectly done. Mystique and Nightcrawler were perfectly done. It couldn't have gotten any better. It was great how they did them. Storm, I wasn't feeling Storm. Not so much just because it was Halle Berry, but Storm is supposed to be of the Amazon race. She's supposed to be like something like 6 foot whatever, and Halle Berry's just not a convincing Storm. Somebody along the lines, you need somebody with a stronger presence. Now, if I was going to take an actor from back in the day, I would have probably equated Storm closer to somebody like Grace Jones.
Oh yeah! Oh wow!
Remember
Yeah.
Grace Jones from Conan.
Yeah.
I would have now take now Grace Jones by no means is a beautiful woman, but if you take Grace Jones, think of her structure, okay? That is what Storm is supposed to be sort of structured like, tall like that, strong in the features, but she's supposed to have beautiful, a better looking woman, flowing hair, things of that nature, but she's supposed to have the strength of presence that a Grace Jones would have brought.
That would be that'd be an interesting, have Grace Jones in there as Storm.
She would have been an excellent choice for Storm. Actually, like I said, you'd had to have prettified her up a little bit because Storm is supposed to be attractive as well.
Yeah,
but that strength that Grace Jones would have brought, her presence. Well, that's what I would be looking for.
Now, doesn't a lot of her roles are more stronger type of physical? I can't remember all the movies she was in. I know she was in Conan. She was in the Bond movie, and she was actually kind of like a villain. In the end, I think she helped out the James Bond, and I think she had like a lot of the.
She's always been a strong role. She's always played a strong female role. But that's a lot to do with her looks. She's not your conventional beauty.
Well, I'm kind of wondering if they actually had her in the, as Storm in an X-Men. I'm kind of wondering if they would tone her down like the Storm that they did in the movie, but or are they just gonna put her in another strong role as that she usually does? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For the most part, I don't know if Grace Jones would make a good Storm of herself. But what I'm more just reflecting towards is, like I said, the presence that Grace Jones has, and that type of strength from a woman is what Storm is supposed to bring about. I mean, she controls the weather. She's floating up, and lightning bolts come down at her command. No little wimpy Zapple. That's not happening.
Wow.
And I wasn't too pleased with that. I didn't like Deadpool from Wolverine either.
Who was that?
Deadpool, the character, the villain in Wolverine's movie.
Oh shoot, I can't remember. I guess the other movies I've seen a couple of times already. The X-Men or the Wolverine movie I only seen I think once. I couldn't remember the. Now I do remember Saber, him in there, but.
Yeah, what kills me with that is Sabretooth in the Wolverine movie was way more intelligent than Sabretooth in the X-Men movie.
Yeah.
The Sabretooth in the X-Men movie when he was with Magneto.
He was kind of dumb.
He was stupid as a brick. But Sabretooth in Wolverine's movie was, he was a formidable foe. So that little thing there. But I am excited about the whole fact that Captain America is coming out.
Oh, okay.
And they got Thor is coming out as well. Now I don't know how good Thor is going to be, but I'm going to keep an open mind on it. I think Captain America will do well, though.
Now, I'm guessing it's, Marvel. How when all the superhero movies come out, I think it has like Marvel, and I don't know if they're cranking out I like them. Most of them, movies, superhero movies I like. Not every one, but
right.
They're coming out with some pretty good ones, the roles and
well, they don't have anything else to fall back on. The lack of imagination in Hollywood is ridiculous. They got onto the whole vampire kick, and everybody and their mother came out with a bloodsucker.
Yeah.
The CW came out with the whole diaries, and then you have Twilight, and the vampires, for crying out loud, sparkle in the sun. What in the world? Where did you get a sparkling vampire from? What are these vampires? What were they, bit by Liberace? I mean, it's like they come out in the sun and their diamond skin sparkled in the what?
Well, I'm guessing it was based on books, right?
Yeah, it was based off
Yeah.
that. I can't remember her name, but
Yeah.
it,
It wasn't Anne Rice, I can tell you that.
Oh, I just, I, I don't know. It reminds me of what was it? Tom Hanks and what was that movie with Madonna, League of Their Own?
Yeah, League of Their Own, yeah.
Remember when he was like, "There's no crying in baseball." That just it reminds me of there's no sparkling in vampirism.
Well, see what it was is they were when she wrote the book, she was targeting specific target group, which was young girls, you know, the romance, so obviously if they showed a lot of blood and all that, so of course they had to throw a lot of hunks in there in their early 20s, or, you know. So
yeah, well, I guess
that's
it was
what it
trying
was.
to get that whole Lost Boy feel to it.
Well,
Maybe.
yeah, they didn't quite do it. I mean, Twilight's just Twilight, and you know, I watched the first movie, and I was thinking it was going to be like the Lost Boys too, and I'm like, oh, let me try this out. I was like, holy moly!
Well, you know, it's Twilight is very what I like to call Nickelodeon. It's very Nickelodeon feel. There's another movie that was recorded out here near Pittsburgh called I Am Number Four or I Am Four or something like that. That also looks like it. The book itself, I actually started reading the book some time ago. And when I was reading it at first, I never finished it. But when I was reading it at first, the premise was kind of cool. And then I heard that there was actually a movie deal, and they were making it out here in Pittsburgh. And I thought, oh well, cool. When I saw some of the previews and clips, it also looked very Nickelodeon. But I'm going to tell you the movie to look out for. I don't think it's in production, but the movie to look out for is Demon. Have you ever heard of the book called Demon?
Is it the one? I'm trying to think of the guy. Well, the actual movie's just Demon. Is that what it is?
Well, the movie hasn't been made yet, but the book is called Demon, and part
Okay.
2 of that book is called Freedom, and it's by Daniel Suarez. He was the computer science guy who he basically made a book.
Okay.
And the first part's called Demon, but it's spelled like the Unix variety of a demon, or Damon.
Damon, yeah.
But everybody
Okay.
says Demon. That book is off the chain. That is such a well-written sci-fi-ish thriller, tech thriller. Now, the person who directed, I think, War Games, he bought the rights to the movie, and somebody else, 2 people got the rights to the movie, and they are going to bring this movie about, I guess, in the next maybe couple of years from now. But if they do that movie right, man, that's going to be off the chain.
Yeah,
If you
sounds.
get a chance, go to Audible and get that book.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna check it out, and hopefully I won't forget. There's a list of stuff I have to do, and I never either forget or don't have time. But now I got time for one more question. What do you think of the movie Hellboy?
Oh, wow. You know what? Hellboy was that was a fun ride, actually. Hellboy was a fun ride. I didn't per se care for Hellboy 2.
Yeah, me too. Just the first. Usually the first ones are the great, you know, the best.
Yeah, Hellboy was a fun ride. I loved how they linked it to Hitler.
Yeah.
Because they talked about Hitler dabbling in the dark arts,
Supernatural
and all that other
stuff, yeah.
supernatural. So I love the fact of them tying that in with Hitler. The characters in Hellboy were awesome. I didn't feel that excited about a movie since Spawn, although I wasn't happy with Spawn once I saw it. But in any case, Hellboy was a fun ride. Absolutely enjoyed that movie, and it is a part of my collection. Part 2, wasn't feeling it too much.
Okay.
Wasn't feeling it too much.
Okay, we're showing 8:46 p.m. Unfortunately, I have to leave at 9 p.m. Central Time on the dot. I have to go somewhere. But thank you, BuyerBrown for coming talking with us, and it's been a lot of fun.
Oh man, it was an absolute blast, and thanks for having me. And I think we covered a wide variety of topics.
See, I don't know. I think we started losing it. Well, see, I'm a big movie people, and I like the superhero movies, and I guess some people started leaving. I think after that, I don't know. It's not everybody's I guess cake, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah. But that's still awesome. But it was I had a blast. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Oh yeah, it's I like meeting new people, and of course I guess you do the voiceover thing on his website bbtas.com, and then
yeah, and I also do it for Average Joe and Steel City Resistance. You'll hear my voice dropping in different shows here and there.
Oh, okay. And you guys can check out his website over there if you guys want. And see you later there, BuyerBrown.
All right.